Welcome to the Voiceover Round Table. I'm Mike Tobin.
And I'm Emma O'Neill. Every week, we get together to talk about all things voiceover, with a special focus on community.
Bringing you in-depth interviews, roundtable discussions, special performance events, and industry-leading guests.
Let's get started. This is the Voiceover Round Table.
What does the t-shirt say? Move to Toronto, we don't get ice storms? Oh, so mean. So mean.
Just
I love you, though.
passed us right by. Passed us right by.
There was a little bit of moisture, and then the rest of us got walloped. Anyways.
Yeah, that was pretty brutal.
Yeah, my lovely host, Emma O'Neill, who didn't go 3 days without power, but who's counting?
I did not. But I did check in on a regular basis to make sure you're still alive. So,
yes, I made it through. And shout out to all the peeps who lost power, Ontario, Eastern Ontario, Western Quebec, Montreal and region. At one point, there were over 1 million people without power.
Yeah, it was nuts.
In our region. It was just awful. But we're on the flip side of that, and hopefully we'll learn something from it and move on. Now, this is a voiceover roundtable, so we can just move on and talk about other stuff.
Instead, we're going to talk about our guest tonight, who has had a long career in motion picture advertising as an award-winning creative director, producer of hundreds of movie trailers and TV spots for movies over the years, including, and this list is insane, Ocean's 11, Inception, The Hangover, The Dark Knight Rises, Mad Max Fury Road, Wonder Woman, Ocean's 8, Dunkirk, and so many more.
I kind of lose my breath each one of those.
I know, right?
Over his awesome career, he's directed literally thousands of trailer voiceover sessions. He teaches trailer and promo workshops and works with many VO professionals doing individual coaching and consulting, as well as trailer demo production.
Please welcome to the Voiceover Roundtable, Richard Redfield.
Richard. And we'll unmute Richard.
Uh-huh.
I think
there he is.
Okay.
There he is.
I was waiting for that mic picture to disappear. Hello. Welcome, everybody.
Welcome to the show, Richard. It's
Thank
nice
you.
to meet you.
Exactly.
Lovely to have you on board.
Yep. And I see a couple of people I've worked with before, at least in a workshop down there. So hello to all of you.
Cool.
And the weather here is very nice, I have to say, in Los Angeles.
I heard
No
it
ice
was
storms
overcast today. Yes. Yeah. No ice storms, which is good. And no pouring rain. You're not also being drowned.
Totally.
Right?
I have a sister-in-law who went, it wasn't LA. I can't remember if it was San Diego or so. She went somewhere in California for she's a professor and she was doing some work down there. And she was telling us how there was a Subway restaurant there that basically, if it rained, you got a free sub.
Cute.
And apparently no one got free subs. It just didn't happen. But anyways, Richard, thanks so much for taking some time to be with us and with our audience tonight. One of the questions we really love to lead off with very often is kind of the whole origin story. We love to hear about how you got into the business. Like, were you always a movie buff? Maybe a bit of the journey that got you to where you are today.
Okay. Well, I don't want to take up too much time with that because people want to do their thing, but I will try to do a condensed version of it that's faintly interesting.
Richard, you do you. We got this.
You do
it's all
you.
good. You do you.
All right. So, okay, let's see. I was interested in making movies. I was living in Vancouver, Canada at the time, where I graduated from Simon Fraser University.
Nice.
Although I grew up in New York, I will say I'm not a Canadian by birth. After 5 years in Vancouver, doing various things, I kind of wanted to really get into the movie business. I came down to California. I just sort of randomly fell into different things, worked on all kinds of miscellaneous productions that I won't go into in various capacities, usually kind of on the, I don't know, all kinds of stuff. Stopping myself from going off in tangents.
You can, Richard, don't seriously, you're fine.
So one of the people that I met was, somebody's relative's son's friend or something, that I hooked up with. And he gave me a list of names of people in various parts of the movie business. An editor, I don't know, a director of photography. Those sorts of different. Because I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do at that point. Anyway, I spent 5 years doing various things, and then at one point, the same guy. Oh, actually, I read short stories for him at the public library because he wanted to make a movie.
Cool.
He wanted to make a movie and get an Oscar for best short film, and then he wanted to parlay that into a directing career. So I read stories, but eventually made this movie, and it did win. It got an Oscar nomination, so that was something.
Wow.
But that was him, not me. Now I was there a little bit, but I was working on other things at the time. Anyway, to make a long story slightly shorter, he offered me a job working in trailers. I was already doing some shoots, like producing shoots, things that were being shot for this new trailer company that he was working at. Because back then we used to do a lot of shooting, and we'd have, even with the stars, and we'd have little teaser trailers that had, these stars in them or various things in them that weren't part of the movie that we'd create. So that was a lot of fun. But when he asked me to work on staff, I kind of really didn't want to, because that wasn't my interest, post-production. So I turned it down, and then after a summer of not much freelance work, he asked me again, and I said, okay. I figured I would do it for a short while, make some steady money, and 40 years later, I was still doing it. So it was kind of very seductive, working on these big movies, working with, go to Steven Spielberg's office to show him a graphic for the animated graphic for E.T. for the trailer.
That's awesome.
And went up to Lucasfilm to mix the Return of the Jedi trailer. And he'd come in the room and make comments on, make the music louder. And we were on movie sets all the time and doing all these shoots with these stars. So it was kind of fun, and it was getting more lucrative. The next thing I knew, that was my entire career, even though I hadn't set out to do that. So let that be a warning to those of you who have a really fixed ideal of what you want to do. Stick with that ideal, or you'll end up making trailers the rest of your life. Just kidding.
Wow.
When I first started, we were the graphic-oriented company, graphic design-oriented, that this guy had started with a famous graphic designer, not famous, but a well-known graphic designer who was responsible for a lot of movie posters already and main title sequences for movies, but not trailers. So the two of them together started this company called Intralink, which is the one I started at. And we were known for sort of non-voiceover trailers, even though everything else had voiceover on it. So it's kind of ironic that I ended up being the trailer voiceover guy.
Very.
We did have voiceover. We did the Blade Runner teaser trailer. We did have Harrison Ford's voice narrating it, but we wrote the script and had somebody, a sound-alike, read it. It wasn't Harrison Ford. But generally, we avoided voiceover whenever we could. We still did a lot of it. I will say, because the client would want it, especially the TV campaigns, just like it is now. Nowadays, the trailers don't have voiceover on them. I just heard one yesterday, so that was an exception. But the TV campaigns for the movies and all the digital spots and everything else are where the voiceover is. Where the voiceover is. So how do I get back to my original train of thought here? Let's see. So over those years, decades, I've directed, like you said, literally thousands of voiceover sessions. Yeah. Some with movie stars, the stars of the movies, which kind of interesting. I did one with Anthony Hopkins once, and I felt kind of like, how am I going to direct Anthony Hopkins? Oscar-winning thespian, and so I just kind of let him go and do his thing, and it wasn't really what I wanted. He wasn't really getting it because he's not used to doing narration for a trailer.
Yeah.
And it was in his character. It was the movie Alexander, Oliver Stone movie.
Yeah.
So at one point, he did a take or two, and then he said, would you like it a little more cinematic? And I took that as my opportunity to sort of butt in and give him some direction. And I went on and I said, well, in the movie, your character is blah, 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 and da-da-da, but this is a little more, da-da-da. And I went on and on. And at the end of my little speech, he said, that doesn't make any sense. Do you want it louder or softer? So I said, well, if those are my two choices, I'll take louder, because that's really what I wanted, to tell you the truth. He was just being a little too quiet like this, So, but yeah, I've had a lot of interesting run-ins with, not run-ins, but, interactions with various people, from, the stars to Don LaFontaine to this person to that person. And over the years, I sort of, always sort of cared a lot about voiceover, where I frankly don't think a lot of people in this part of the business do. The trailer producers and editors and those whatnot. They're not really, it's not foremost in their minds. They don't really, it's not like they don't care at all about it, but it's, it's sort of towards the bottom of the list of things to worry about, sadly. And I'm not going to go into that more now, but, when I do workshops and whatnot, I kind of go into the whole behind the scenes scenario of how it seems to be being done, the auditions, and how to best deal with that. Some of you have heard this. How to do these auditions to best compete in this situation. So 10 or 12, 14, I don't know, some number of years ago, one of the voiceover managers, or management company owners, Jason Marks, he was out from New York, and we had lunch, and he said, why don't you teach a class? We'll set it up and you can teach it. And I thought, well, I'm not really a teacher, but he talked me into it. And I found I really enjoyed it. There were 10 or 12 people, and they seemed to get a lot out of it. And I got hooked, and I did a couple more, and another one, and then I started doing individual coaching. And next thing I knew, it was like a real big sideline for me that I mostly did on weekends because I was still producing trailers. And for the last couple of years, I haven't been producing trailers, although it's to be determined whether I will get pulled back into doing that. I'm going to go talk to somebody tomorrow, actually. But we'll see.
You heard it here first, people.
Yeah,
on the Voiceover Round Table.
Exactly. So, but I am doing, the coaching and the voiceover stuff pretty much 7 days a week at this point. Not packing my days with it, but it's something that I really like doing, and I feel like I'm helping people. So I do it as much as, without really advertising or pushing it, I do it as much as I can. And speaking of advertising, this will be my only advertisement. If you do want to get in touch with me, just have a question, or you want to ask about coaching or anything else, or get on a list for workshop, notifications, it's pretty easy. It's just richardredfield@gmail.com. And that's the answer to your question.
Okay. So you answered one of my other questions, which was, are you from LA, or did you move there for movie? How did you end up in Vancouver? Like, how did you end up at Simon Fraser?
Let's see. I was at school in Boston, and I got I think after my first year, when I was 18, I went to Europe, and sort of spur of the moment thing in the summer after my first year of college. And I just went around randomly without any plan. I was hitchhiking through, cities and just countries and whatnot. Had an interesting time. And I met a guy at the end. I met like these 4 other people. We were on our way to the Isle of Wight Music Festival to see Jimi Hendrix and a few other people. This is just before he died. And one of the guys I met was from Vancouver, and he said, I'm from Vancouver. It's really beautiful. I love it. And that was odd, because most people aren't raving about where they're from. They're usually complaining about it when you're a teenager.
True.
So it stuck in my mind. But then I got a letter from a friend who I'd gone to high school with in New York. It was saying, I'm living in Vancouver, and I'm going to this place called Simon Fraser University. And he drew me a picture of like snow-capped mountain outside the window of his classroom. And I just thought, this is great. I'm going to do this. It was also still during the Vietnam War, keep in mind. So this is how long ago this was. So in the back of my mind, I thought it may not be a bad thing to avoid getting sent away and shot. So there I was in Vancouver, and I lived there for 5 years, and I finally came down to LA after that. But I did really like it there.
Very cool. It's always fun because it's, like I've worked with you a couple of times in workshops, but that's on a professional basis. You don't really get to know the ins and outs of where a person kind of got their start.
Right.
So I always love these origin stories.
Yep.
And what I heard a lot in there, Richard, is a lot of stuff happening organically.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
A lot of stuff happening very organically. And that's, to our listeners, that's, sometimes it's great to set a goal and go after your goal, but it's also great to realize that, sometimes there's going to be a fork in the road, and maybe you go one way, maybe you go the other. And,
yep.
You kind of trust that the right stuff's going to get put in front of you, and you'll end up in the right place. I think you did.
Yeah, seems like it. But yes, that's true. You're right about that. Now that you mention it, I have to ponder that later.
I want to ask specifically about reads, actually, because I'd love for our listeners to get a better understanding of some of this stuff, because sometimes the genres can be maybe out of reach, or a little bit, the lines get a little bit blurred. So there's a couple of questions. Let's start with, how does a promo read differ from a trailer read? Okay.
Now, this will be a gross overgeneralization.
Fantastic.
Because there's all kinds of reads in both. But if you put a gun to my head and said, you must answer this question, I would say promo tends to be a little more retail and selling and a little more enthusiastic. And trailer in general tends to be a little more flatter, toned down, not conversational like commercial, very far from it. It's sort of very theatrical and put on, but it's in a kind of a way like this. It's like you wouldn't, hello, how are you today? You wouldn't talk like that, but that's how it, that's what
we know some people who
like
talk
generally.
like that.
Now, sometimes promos sound like that. They often want promos. We started a promo division at the company I was last at. I had an idea one day, why don't we start a promo division and we'll find somebody. I found a guy and started it, and the whole thing took off. But when we were going around to potential clients with him, our selling point, to CBS or NBC or whatever, one of our selling points was that we are a trailer company, and the same editors that have worked on, The Dark Knight Rises or whatever, will work on your promos. We're going to take this really seriously, and it's not going to be an afterthought, and it's, going to get this cool, treatment. People seem to like that. The clients seem to like the idea of, sometimes they'll say, we want this to sound a little more trailery, or want this, not sound, but we want this piece you're doing to be more trailer-like. They're just sort of big and cinematic and, that sort of thing. So, but the range in promo is huge. It's very vast in terms of, some things are like this and really overexcited and annoying, and other things are kind of like this, more towards that trailer side. Whereas trailers, yes, if it's a kid's movie and it's a spot that's going to be a Nickelodeon, it could get a little bit hyper, but generally the range is much narrower. I'm using my hands, and you can't see it because I tend to use
I nod all the time on this. You're I'm with you. I'm totally with you.
Emma is nodding.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm also in my bathrobe. No, just kidding. So the range is narrower. There are, a horror film is like this, and a thriller is like this, but they're kind of similar, even though the one's darker and scarier than the other one. And a drama can be like this. Now, a comedy can be a little more perky or not. Often, like, Warner Brothers, I've worked a lot for them over the years, and with one client a lot, and the president of marketing over him, and they liked everything really flat, particularly flat. So they were allergic to any kind of inflection like this for a comedy. Everything had to be kind of like this. So, another studio might feel different, different clients. But what other genres? So there's a narrower range. Let me just put it that way. That's the answer, to make a long story short there.
Okay. And then part B, what's the difference between movie advertising and TV movie promo?
Movie advertising, and say that again? Movie.
Well, what's the difference between a movie trailer? Because you've talked about this before, that it's like movie trailer, which is like the advertising for the movie, but then there's the stuff that's on television. So there's the stuff that's voiced and the stuff that's not voiced.
Right. Okay.
I'm just using the wrong words.
Yeah, I got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So yes, the trailer is to me, a trailer is only the long form piece. The 2 or 2.5 minute long piece that you will see in the theater or that you'll see online. And the TV campaign which is where the voiceover tends to be, is everything that's on television. 30-second piece,
Right.
15-second, whatever. Sometimes there's 60, and also there's so many different venues or platforms or whatever to advertise a movie or anything else these days. So, there's spots for Instagram and things for Twitter and this and that. There's all kinds of different stuff, and they all have different aspect ratios, and you have to know the technical details of all that. And some of the stuff that's on social media is a lot more quirky and in your face and different. And the stuff that's, on the spot for the comedy that they're going to play on Saturday Night Live, is going to be a little more standard and straightforward. But they're all going to, not all, some of them are going to have voiceover. Some of the social media stuff doesn't have voiceover, but some of it does. And the broadcast spots are the ones you'll see on TV when you're watching a program, will always at least have, I shouldn't say always, but they're supposed to always have a verbal rating. That's the only thing that's really required. So, you could have a whole 30-second spot, and at the end, all you hear is rated R. And that's sometimes you'll see, like on the manager's websites, you'll see, here's so-and-so on Star Wars, and you'll hear this 30-second spot, blah, 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 rated R. That's it, or rated PG-13. But usually they have, if nothing else, they'll have the, Star Wars, rated PG-13, starts Friday. So I'll have a title and a rating and a tag, a date tag. But, many spots have voiceover all the way through them, or, part way through them. And that's where we're really talking about. Although just doing the title and tag is still a big deal. If you're, if you score that job and they finish with your voice on it, you're still going to have bragging rights to that.
Oof,
whatever movie it is.
Yep, absolutely.
Yep. Well, there you go.
Perfect. Thank you. Mike, did you want to, or will we ask? Sarah Tyndall has a question in the chat.
Go right ahead.
Any thoughts on how to get started in promo if you don't have access through an agent? Which is a
it's really tough. I mean, you want to have an agent. How do you get into, that's another story. It's not really my area of expertise, so I try not to go on much about it.
Yeah.
But
it's definitely, it's one of those genres that is typically only accessed through
agencies and managers of
agents and managers.
Right.
So it's one of those step-ups.
I mean, yes, there are ways to contact directly. Like I could say, hey, give me $10 and I'll give you the names of 3 promo producers, and you can email them. So if you had the names and email addresses of
and Richard's people. Venmo just lit up $10 donations.
I just
Steve's like,
really sold. Yeah. Make that $20. Forget, 10's too cheap. But my point being, if you had the contact information for promo producers or the executives at the networks, who are in charge of that. Mm-hmm. You could send emails. I mean, people do, send emails to those people and to their trailer counterparts. And every once in a while, like there's a guy I know who has amassed. This is the list you want, but I don't think he would sell it for $5,000. But he's amassed. He's created a list of probably almost all potential people that could hire you for both trailer and promo. And he's just done it on his own through industriousness. And he's spent years doing it, and he updates it all the time, and he puts hours into it every week. And I haven't seen over the years, because I've done a lot of coaching with him, I haven't seen a lot of progress with it, a lot of success that he's had by doing it that way, without an agent or manager. Mm-hmm. But lately he's come up with a couple of situations where a trailer producer has given him a script to read. It worked. He sent an email and they said, oh, here, read this. And he sent it in, and they, I don't know what happened from there. I'm not saying that he booked 3 major campaigns, but he was at least getting people to give him opportunities just through his own self-marketing. I'm not recommending that as the way to go. I really do think having an agent and or a manager is highly superior and the way to do it. Yeah,
the proven way.
You could theoretically do that on your own, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, my experience, it's generally it's like the top 5, the national agents, and then the management companies that have access to promo and trailer.
Yeah. Unfortunately, yes, it seems to be that way.
Not regional. You don't get regional and local agents would not be in that bag of tricks.
Right.
That sandbox.
In that sandbox, yes.
We're going to have some fun tonight. Obviously, we've got some people that are waiting to read. Before we do, Richard, you kind of gave us a little peek behind the scenes, but it's always fun to hear the sort of, the other side of the glass stories and some peek into the control room. And of all the sessions you've directed for trailers or promos, but mainly trailers, is there one? I mean, you talked about Anthony Hopkins. It's epic, but anything that stands out, any story you can tell,
like a Shatner,
yeah, or those ones Shatner that they spoof in a YouTube video.
No Shatners, come on.
I did. Let's see. I'm trying to think of some other ones. I did a session with Ben Affleck once, and all he had to do was make a groaning noise, and he actually showed up himself to do this. It was on the Disney Studio lot or one of those lots. I forget which one. I think that's because he was there. And all I needed him to do was groan because the MPAA, which is Motion Picture Association, which is the one who makes you have the verbal rating at the end of the spot that I mentioned earlier, and that actually creates the ratings, that rates movies.
Right.
They had a problem with this trailer we're working on. Let me see if I can remember it. Surviving Christmas. It was like a sort of forgettable Christmas comedy with Ben Affleck and who else was in it? I don't know. I'm not sure. If somebody knows, puts it in chat. Anyway, he gets hit by something like something falls and hits him on the head, and he gets knocked out. And the MPA rejected it because it looked like he got killed. And you're not allowed to get killed on camera. At least you weren't back then, like 10 years ago or whatever this was, 15 years ago.
Yeah, 2004 with James Gandolfini, Christina Applegate, and Catherine O'Hara.
Okay,
it was directed by Mike Mitchell.
Okay, there you go. What year was it? 2008?
2004. 2004 rom-com, yeah.
Yeah, so that was a long time ago. It was like 18 years ago. Jeez, time flies.
So he's grown. What's the groan?
So they had made us put a groan in there, so that so he wasn't dead. He was just like, oh, that hurt, that thing,
Okay.
So then they would approve it. Then they'd approve the trailer. So when I think back on it, it's crazy because I could have done the groan. Anybody could have done it. Why did we have to actually get Ben Affleck to go drive over to the Disney lot and have a recording session set up so he could go, like three times or whatever.
That's work ethic for you.
But he was happy to do it. That wasn't a really exciting story, but it was kind of funny. I have one that involves somebody who's very well known if you're familiar with the trailer voiceover world. I'm not sure that's a great story. Kind of boring.
Did you just go through the thought process of, can I tell this story? Or
no, it wasn't that. It wasn't that. It was just that I'm not sure. Well, okay. So anyway, it's just not that interesting. So Hal Douglas, who was one of the, major voiceover trailer stars of the, last, decades or whatever. You can look him up. If you don't know him, look him up. The one thing you can see him actually on camera performing in a trailer called The Comedian. It's a Jerry Seinfeld movie that came out, again, I'm probably guessing wrong, but I'm going to say 15 years ago. And he did a lot of. We actually, the company I was at the time, had him on retainer. We were the only ones who were allowed to use him for movie advertising. So I worked with him a lot. Sorry, just taking a sip of water. He was in New York, and I was directing him from L.A., and he was on the line at a studio, and I had just some romantic comedy. I don't remember the name of it. It was a review spot in your critics' reviews, and it was kind of a run-of-the-mill, easy-to-do kind of assignment. But unfortunately, the client was at MGM, which was a big studio back then still, and he was new. It was actually an editor that I used to work with and I was kind of friendly with, and then he became a client at MGM for some odd reason. He became a producer and then he became a client, I guess. So he said, I want Hal to really sound excited, like he's really, it's really enthusiastic. And it was like, okay, sure. So he read the thing, and I said, Hal, the client's new, and he kind of wants this really enthusiastic read, high energy. So he did it. We both did it sort of begrudgingly, cut it in, sent it. And the client said, no, Hal needs to be even more, like really out there, like he's taking off in a rocket to the moon. It was like, okay, this is going to be difficult because this is like so goes against everything I think, about voiceover. But you have to make the client happy, especially this is a guy who just started at the new thing. You want a relationship to last. You don't want to piss him off. So I had Hal come back to the studio. He was in New York. He had I don't remember, it was the next day or something like that. And I said, I'm sorry. The client wants this, blah blah blah. So he did one, and I said, it was pretty slightly over the top. I said, I think we need to go even further. He's talking like you're going to rocket to the moon and all this bullshit. So he started doing it. It was like, critics call blah, 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 the da-da-da-da, whatever, really enthusiastic. It was like totally out of character for him or for anything I would like. And right in the middle of the line, he said, I've got to go. My wife's waiting for me in front of Macy's. I got to go. Bye. And he hung up and left. Wow. And the next day he called and apologized to me. He said, sorry, I left in the middle of the session. And I said, no, I totally understand. But I also was kind of annoyed and didn't use him again for like 6 months or something.
Oh, wow.
But that's my anecdote. That's it.
Oh,
Love
my.
it.
Well.
All right, let's have at it, Emma.
Take note, people. Do not leave for Macy's in the middle of a session, please.
You're right.
Thank you. Thank you. But just going back to, because Sarah kind of cracked the, and I'm going to use the word crack in a couple of different ways here. But what advice can you give someone wanting to crack the promo trailer code? Like, because everything that we do now is self-directed. Like, I've been doing a bunch of stuff for Netflix, and it's wonderful, and it's great, and I'm really glad to do it, but it's all self-directed.
Yeah.
So help.
Well, that's what.
Instead of me sending like 9 minutes of like it's a 30-second spot, I'm like, here are 17 takes, all of them with ABCs, because I don't know what you want.
Right.
Go.
Well, I'll give you my quick version of this, because usually when I do a workshop, the first hour I just sort of pontificate, and then we have 2 hours left to do a 3-hour workshop. 2 hours left to do reads with everybody. So I didn't want to start on that because it'll take too long. But a very quick version of it is yes, you're right. You get an audition and it's not directed. This is stupid. I never did it this way. I never would say, hey, can you send me a bunch of people reading the script and the direction is a comedy but not too over the top? Okay, thanks. I need it back by the end of the day.
Yeah.
And then 10 people will be frantically reading this, trying to decipher, what does that mean? Not too over the top? Am I doing it too over the top? Should I do it quieter? I don't know. There's nobody to ask. So picture yourself, you're one of 10 people that's being cut in. And by the way, most of the time, they're not just listening to it and then picking somebody and then telling the agent, we like so-and-so, now can we set up a session to direct them? They take that recording that you sent in, if they pick you, they take that recording and they cut it right into, the editor cuts it right into the spot, and they send that to the client. And sometimes it goes on air. I told this anecdote a few times about this one guy I've had in a workshop, I think maybe 3 times. And he said that a friend of his called and said, hey, isn't that your voice on the such and such campaign? I saw a spot on the air. And he said, well, I read for it a couple months ago, or never heard back. And he checked online. Sure enough, it was him, and they just sort of forgotten to tell him. I mean,
no.
It wasn't. It was an oversight. It wasn't like it was just somebody dropped the ball.
Okay.
They weren't trying to cheat him or anything.
There was no ill will involved.
No, or like, hey, let's get a free read out of this. That doesn't really happen in
No.
this part of the business.
But Richard, to what you were saying, will they cut in those like 10 people to get options?
No, they'll listen to the. Here's what I picture. I know it's going to be different everywhere, and I'm not there watching it happen. But this is my guess as to what's happening more often than not. The editor is sitting in his room working on a trailer for Surviving Christmas 2 with Ben Affleck, and he gets a call from the producer or somebody saying, hey, the voiceover's in for the such and such spot you cut yesterday. Can you stop down and listen to these 8 or 10 voices and pick one and cut it in? Okay. So that's what happens. An editor is listening through these all, and it's kind of in a hurry and is not going to think about it for the whole day. It's just kind of, a snap decision. Okay, this one sounds good. Oh, so does this one. Well, this one is a little bit better because of, oh, this one, the line was too long. It doesn't fit. I'll go with the other one. I mean, this is worst case scenario, but it's probably what's happening more often than not.
So editor is deciding the fate of the voiceover.
Yeah. Now, maybe it's the producer listening first and then telling the editor who to use. I don't know. Again, I'm not there to watch everywhere. So maybe it's a voiceover coordinator who does this or something at the trailer company or the promo company. Trailer is like this for sure. Promo is sort of half and half. Sometimes it gets more attention, or more often in promo, fairly often the actual clients, meaning the the network executives or the Netflix executive or the Disney Plus or whatever it is, or the tennis channel, wherever the client is, those executives are more involved in the voiceover. They picking who should be in it, who should be recorded, actually directing them, and then sending that to the company that's cutting their promos. That happens a lot, but it also works the other way too, which is the way I'm describing, where the promo company, the editing people are getting these 10 reads from whoever, an agent or a manager, and they are listening through them, and somebody's picking. Now, I'm saying the editor is probably doing it most of the time. I never did this, so I never actually watched an editor do this, because I always directed everything. I never asked for 10 people and then picked one, all undirected, and then cut that in and use that, and that's going to go to finish, and that's going to be on, on the air. Seems crazy to me, but that's the way it's done. So, how do you best compete is the question. I didn't want to spend too much time on this, even though it sounds like useful information, because I want to make sure we get to the reading. But I'll do a real quick version of it. Record 4 takes. Put the one you think is most likely to succeed first. Don't put them in any order, like from flat to more animated or something. Unless that's just put the best one first. Imagine they're only going to listen to 1 take, so that's why you should put that first, because that very well may be. He or she has to listen to 10 people. They may just say, nah, okay, yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, I'll put this one over here. And this, who knows what they're doing, but put your best one first. Okay. And then you're going to slate them if you want to listen to the way I suggest doing it and knowing how editors work and whatnot. I would slate them, audio slate, Richard Redfield, 4 takes. Take 1, and then do your first take all the way through. Throw in a few extra titles at the end. Not a lot, but maybe like 5 or so extra titles and maybe 1 extra rating. At the end as you're still rolling on take 1, give them some extra choices for the title. Then you're going to do take 2, and you're going to slate it with sort of your intention, just to help them hear it the way you intend it to be heard. And it also helps make the whole thing more organized. Instead of, here's 4 takes, I have no idea what the difference is between them, just listen. So you're going to go take 2 flatter, or take 2 more comedic, or whatever it is. Then you're going to do the same with take 3. Take 3, cooler with a little attitude, or whatever is appropriate. And then take 4, ABC each line. So that will be what take 4 is. So you'll go, let me just grab a script here. This one is just randomly grabbing Dunkirk. The #1 movie in the world has America's top critics raving. The #1 movie in the world has America's top critics raving. And then maybe I'll do a little faster one, because this is a long line, just to be safe. The #1 movie in the world has America's top critics raving. So those are my 3 takes on take 4. So that would be take 4. And then I go on to the next line. Rolling Stone calls Dunkirk, blah, 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 blah. Rolling Stone calls Dunkirk, blah, 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 3 times in a row. So go through the whole thing all the way down to the tag. Read each line 3 times. Now, this editor who's cutting in one of these takes, if you're lucky, if you're really lucky, has 6 choices for each line, as opposed to just a couple. If you just send 2 takes, they only have 2 choices. Now, that may be enough, but they're not listening to it just to decide whether to pick you or not. They're listening to it to actually cut it in. So if it was a directed session, like if I was doing it, if I was producing it, I would direct this session, and I'd have somebody in mind, I would direct them. And there would be like 10 takes or 15 takes, who knows how many to choose from for the editor. So why not give them at least 6 choices? That's my thought behind it. And listen, if they don't want to listen, if they hear take 4, ABC each line, if they hear that, they don't have to listen. They go, no, I don't need to hear that. So fine, no great loss. So hopefully that makes sense. That's the quick
totally
version.
does.
Yeah.
No, it totally does. Thank you. So,
how's your inbox, Emma?
well, tonight is one of those nights. So I think we're going to move on to reads. Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do.
Basically, whenever we open things up for talent to read, the response is always amazing. And tonight was, or today, this morning, last night, yesterday, was one of those. My email inbox has become what we're calling a drive-through party. And then I just randomly select. So it's not first come, first serve. It's a random selection of people, so that there's a wide variety of folks to be working with, from working pros to people who are relatively new. I just find it's a lot more balanced that way. So,
and we thank everyone. If you sent
absolutely.
Emma an email, thank everyone for trying, and we'll do our best to get you on. If you didn't get this round, it's all good. Here's how we'll work with Richard so we can maximize everyone's time, including his. Once we call you up, we'll ask you to unmute. Just give us your name and tell us what script you're going to be reading. Richard's going to listen, give you some direction, go back, do it again based on that direction. After that, give you some parting feedback to take with you. Ready?
We are ready. Jessica, you are first up. If you could raise your hand for me, love. That would be awesome. And then next on deck is Mike. So, Mike, if you want to come up on stage as well and just stay muted, that would be awesome.
Is that Mike C?
It is.
Mike C. There's Mike C. Invite on stage. Jessica's
Sweet you.
there.
And just before we start, just so that if anyone's coming in that is not used to the way that we run these read nights, the scripts are sent out in advance. People email in advance, so that it's just a little bit more organized, and you've got a little bit more time to actually look at the scripts. So there you go. Jessica, are you ready? This is always the fun part, is the unmuting part.
Yeah.
If we have to pull a Steve Snyder, Snyder is also going to be on stage in just a moment. If you cannot unmute your mic, leave the stage, come back in. It's just a glitch in Clubhouse. It's not you.
Snyder magic.
I know. It's the Snyder method. It's the Snyder method.
All right, Jessica.
Yes, I'm here.
Yay!
I'm here. Thank you. Hello.
Hello, love. How are you?
Well, how are you?
Well,
Thank you for having me.
absolutely.
What you reading, Jessica?
I'm Jessica Mars, and I would like to read November Criminals.
November Criminals. Okay, there we go. Okay, this is a pretty classic thriller, dark kind of thriller. Now, when you're something I didn't say earlier, because as I said, I didn't have time to do the whole thing, but this is another piece of information. One thing I always suggest doing is looking at the script. First, I suggest seeing if there's a trailer out already, and if there is online, watch that. Obviously, you would do that without me telling you, but so you have some sense of the tone of the movie, whatever it is. This is going to be kind of dark. I don't remember the movie at this point, or even who's in it, but it's an older one. But if you look at that, so I try to figure out who is this for. In this case, it's sort of it's an adult. It's not like a teen kind of thing, a thriller. It's kind of like a sophisticated thriller. So you'll have figured that out both from the script and also from the trailer. Or if no trailer, you'll read a synopsis somewhere online. There's information out there about every movie that's coming out by the time you're looking at a script like this. And I won't go on like this for each person, don't worry, but because we'll run out of time. But one thing I wanted to call attention to, there's little subtleties there are little subtleties in the script, and sometimes there's words you want to there's plays on words, and you want to make sure you're not missing or something like that. In this case, there's not that, but actually there is. Lie's the truth is a play on words, because truth lies. So there you go. But if you notice all these between this and that, this and that, this and that, they're all sort of negative things except for friendship. So that doesn't change how you read it necessarily, but maybe just a little bit, between this and that. between this, friendship and betrayal. There's like more of a contrast. It's very subtle, and it shouldn't be too obvious, but I just point that out because it's the kind of thing that might give you a little edge over the other 9 people if you really spend a few minutes thinking about the script and, whatever. Okay. So, how are we doing this? I want to make sure I don't run out of time, so I want to do this quickly. I'm guessing, right, you guys?
No, just it's all good. We've accommodated. I've moved things around a little bit.
Okay.
So, yeah, you're good.
All right. So, but we're only going to do what is the format? One read,
one
and then
read,
I comment,
redirect,
and then one
and then
more
another read. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, I guess do your thing, and then I'll comment on it.
Thank you. Between crime and conspiracy, between friendship and betrayal, between obsession and madness, lies the truth. November Criminals, rated R, December 8th.
Good. I like that. I probably wouldn't pick that take if I had some choices, but I did like it. but I want to make it better. This is hard to do in one take, but a little bit of direction. But and this is just my taste. It doesn't mean that somebody else will like it this way. Who's deciding? They may like exactly what you did. So it's all very subjective. You have to always keep that in mind. So even if you did something good and you get rejected, it that doesn't mean that it was wrong necessarily. So again, I like that take. I'm not demeaning it. I just saying I think what I'd like to do to it is stretch it out slightly, make it a little more. I'm going to give you my line reading just to make it easier than some adjectives. So it's a little like this: between crime and conspiracy, between friendship and betrayal, between obsession and madness, lies the truth. Kind of like that. It's a little, I think, a little bit longer with it. You are, and it's just a little sort of flatter and darker, maybe closer to the mic, kind of thing.
Okay.
Okay.
Between crime and conspiracy, between friendship and betrayal, between obsession and madness, lies the May I start again?
Yeah, since you're going again, let me just tone it down a little bit. It's a little too dramatic. Keep it a little flatter.
Between crime and conspiracy, between friendship and betrayal, between obsession and madness, lies the truth. November Criminals, rated R, December 8th.
Good. Yeah, I like that a lot better.
Okay.
I would keep working on it, until I had it, because I'm kind of obsessive that way, but I get it exactly how I hear it in my head. But that you felt the difference there between the two, right?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
It didn't sound like you, but it sounded...
Yeah, no, exactly. But yeah, everybody, you don't want to sound like me anyway. But I think one trick for everybody is, definitely experiment with that read that's closer to the mic. I'm holding my fist up to my mouth as I'm saying this. That's closer to the mic, and is a little more like this. Seems to be a typical trailer thing, as opposed to. So this is the projection version. Between crime and conspiracy. There's nothing wrong with it, and maybe it's a little more, quote, promo-y, tonight on Fox, between crime and conspiracy. And this is the trailer version. Closer to the mic, a little quieter, between crime and conspiracy. I don't know how much you can hear that going through my phone, but
Yes.
Between friendship and betrayal. So just a thought for everybody.
I wish I had done it that way. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you for your coaching.
Thanks, Jessica. Mike, you are up next, and then Snyder, you're on deck.
Good evening, everybody.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Well,
Hello.
thank you.
Hi, Richard.
Hey, how are you?
Are you sitting in your yard again? Out with the birds?
No, I'm actually inside because I thought, since it's only audio, all the birds chirping in the background would seem particularly overly, intrusive.
Excellent.
What you reading for us tonight, Mike?
I'm going to do a Bad Mom's Christmas.
Nice.
Good. Okay, let me just find that here.
Love that.
That's the very last one, of course. Okay, so here's my direction. Because we don't have time to explore this and let you discover it on your own, I'm going to give you my direction, which is, let's start off, what makes Christmas so special, moms? Let's make a comic turn for working their asses off. So the opening should sound like a Hallmark movie. Like you're faking being like, oh, isn't that sweet? What makes Christmas so special? Moms. And then turn working their asses off. So, and then stay in that mode for the rest of it. This holiday season, being bad never felt so good, or something like that. Yeah. That would be one way to do it. Another way to do it, we're not going to do it today, but another way to do it that you could throw in that maybe nobody else would think of, and maybe you'd win the audition because of it, is what if you stayed in that Hallmark mode all the way through? So as you're talking like this, they're doing all this stuff, they're getting drunk and falling off their board, and it makes it, you're sort of like the straight man, and it makes it more counterpoint funny, to play off of your, oh, isn't that sweet? And they're, throwing crap against the wall and whatever they're doing. I don't know. Okay, so let's try that.
What makes Christmas so special? Moms working their asses off. This holiday season, being bad never felt so good. A Bad Mom's Christmas. Rated PG-13. Now playing.
All right, so that was pretty good. That worked. You did what I asked. But I'm not sure that if there were 10 people that you were being picked from, that yours would stand out enough. I think you could go a little further with the whole thing. Like make the opening even more sweet and nice. What makes Christmas so special? Oh, isn't that nice? Just without sounding silly, but just a little more of that. And then, even the contrast can be greater. You can make the turn even more like working their asses off. I think you can go for it. This is the kind of movie where you can go for that. Normally, I would say don't do this in a trailer. Don't get that playful or whatever. But I think in this case, it's worth trying. If that makes sense.
Yeah, let's go for it. What makes Christmas so special? Moms working their asses off. This holiday season, being bad never felt so good. A Bad Mom's Christmas. Rated PG-13. Now playing.
Yeah, great. So that was, I like that better. I don't know how everybody else felt, but I thought that.
I liked it better too.
Got the idea across. Yeah, good. All right. It just feels so quick. I kind of want to keep going, but we have to move on to the next person.
We do have time for another one because it was quick. Yeah, like the longer reads, we're going to have to keep it contained. But the shorter ones, go for it. Do it, Mike.
Do it. Keeper of the clock, I'm fine. I'm not watching the clock, so you have to warn me if I'm,
I got you.
Okay. So let's do that other one I suggested, the Hallmarky all the way through version. That's how do you slate that? Take 3. I'm not sure you want to say Hallmarky. But, I'm not sure I never can come up with a good way to phrase that. But
vanilla.
Saccharine sweet. Yeah.
Yeah. Sweet all the way through for counterpoint or something like that actually gets the concept across. And the editor will go, oh, that's a great idea. I hadn't thought of that. Yeah, let's use this person. So that's why I suggest doing it. And that's a good, if you have something that's a little bit conceptual like that, it's a little bit of a different idea. Take 3 is a good place to throw that in.
That's a great contrast, yeah.
Yeah. That's like, oh, here's one more. Here's another idea, and oh, I like that. So, or let's say I'm going to do it a little, it's a horror movie. I'm going to do it a little sing-songy, creepy or whatever, So make that your take 3. And they may love that. They may hate the idea, but they've already got the other takes. But if they like it, bam, they go, oh, what a cool idea. That sing-songy, scary thing. It's creepy. All right. So forget the sing-songy, creepy thing. We're back to Bad Mom. I would say, unless you want to do something different, you're welcome to. But I would say try the sweet all the way through version.
Sure. What makes Christmas so special? Moms working their asses off. This holiday season, being bad never felt so good. A Bad Mom's Christmas. Rated PG-13. Now playing.
I don't know about that one. It didn't feel like the right attitude to me. It felt like I didn't feel like it was like, oh, isn't that nice? It felt almost like it had a little of this, yeah, whatever kind of feeling to it.
Okay.
So not that it's ever going to come up again in a trailer, unless it's a Hallmark film, then it will come up. But in a comedy or something, it's not going to come up again. But yes, there's a whole world of Hallmark and what other, I forget what other, platforms
Lifetime,
have that. Yeah, Lifetime. Sometimes they have more murder stuff, but I think they have that too. Yeah, like I think Lifetime had a bunch of Christmas movies that our company was doing the promos for. Yeah. Anyway, you get the idea. All right, so one more. Just see if you can just really go for it. Oh, isn't that nice? It's really touching and heartfelt.
Talk to your grandma.
Yeah.
Grandma.
Talk to your grandma.
What makes Christmas so special? Moms working their asses off. This holiday season, being bad never felt so good. A Bad Mom's Christmas, rated PG-13, now playing.
Good. I like that all except for maybe never felt so good. I thought it never felt so good. I think it could be more like never felt so good. I guess to stick with that, oh, isn't that nice? Okay. And the working their asses off is really hard to do in that Hallmark way, because it's just the words don't, it pulls you out of it. But working, I'm trying to see if I can do it. Moms working their asses off. Working their asses off. I don't know. Whatever. Again, it'll never come up again in a million years, but there you go.
Oh, man.
All right, thank you.
Thanks for
Thanks
playing,
very
Mike.
much.
Before you introduce the man, the myth, the legend, Emma, just do our little mid-show jaunt. If you've joined us halfway through or part of the way through this evening's show, this is the Voiceover Round Table here on Clubhouse every Tuesday evening, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 Pacific, talking about all things voiceover with a special focus on the community, bringing you roundtable discussions, special events, and industry-leading guests. And tonight, no exception, our special guest is promo and trailer creative director, voice director, producer, coach, and teller of fantastic stories, Mr. Richard Redfield with us tonight. And we're going to go right back to the reads. Emma, do the big introduction.
Mr. Steve Snyder, hailing from the west coast of Canada, is joining us tonight.
Thank you, Mike and Emma, for having me. Richard, really nice to meet you. I'm Steve Snyder, and I am currently from and in Vancouver.
Cool. Yeah.
Ta-da!
And it's not even raining, right?
For the first time in a long time, it is not raining.
I do it. That's the one thing I remember is right about this time of year, because I was like 21 or so. I was going to college, and I lived in a house with a bunch of people, and we'd sit around playing our guitars and everything. But by this time of year, everybody was so depressed because it hadn't stopped raining since October.
Yeah.
And then the sun comes out, and it's almost like everybody had taken drugs or ecstasy or something, and everybody's so happy and joyous, and it's like really very different.
There's a lot of booze
somewhere where it's like this all year round generally, so it's like weird. I don't get those moods anymore.
There's a lot of booze flowing at the SFU campus right now, Richard. I assure you.
Right.
I'm going to read for Dunkirk.
Okay.
Cool.
Let me get that in front of me. So this is also what we call a review spot, critics' reviews, and the word raving is in half of them because there's just doesn't seem to be another verb besides raving for what the critics do. And I mean that. It's like try to enthusing. I mean, there's not a lot of, when you say the top critics are blank. If you don't say raving, what do you say? I don't know. Top critics agree, sometimes they say. But it's funny how the word raving is in like half the scripts. And it has been since I started. So it's a little more retail because it's bragging about the movie, but it's not the studio, it's not Warner Brothers saying we have the best movie ever. It's saying listen to what the critics are saying about this movie. Now, I will say that this was the client I mentioned earlier who in Warner Brothers who doesn't like the reads to be very much above flat. As a matter of fact, when I worked on Inception, we had Howard Parker on it, or I did, and we did a very flat read because we knew this client liked everything flat, even though it was like this, the movie event of the year. And I, picked a flat read. We had it cut in, sent it to the client, and he called back and said, Howard sounds a little over the top. And it was like really flat. So, it just goes to show it's in the eye of the beholder. So another studio would have hated that and thought it was like really dead. So what do we do with Dunkirk? What I would do is, it's the same client. I would keep it kind of flat. This is some people that are slightly allergic to too much enthusiastic inflection and whatnot. So what you don't want to do is, the #1 movie in the world has America's top critics raving. Now, if you were doing this for Sony, they may want that or think that's not even enough. But for Warner Brothers at the time, this would have been like, the #1 movie in the world has America's top critics raving. The movie event of the year. Sweeping, and so that kind of a tone. It's still like bragging a little bit. It's still excited about it, but in a very toned down way. Hope that makes sense.
Pull it way back for sure. Okay. Yeah. The #1 movie in the world has America's top critics raving. Rolling Stone calls Dunkirk the movie event of the year. The New York Times declares it sweeping and intimate, and Time hails it as a supreme achievement. Dunkirk, rated PG-13. Experience it in IMAX now.
Yeah, that's about just the right level of enthusiasm, which is, on the lower end of it, which is good. But it still has a punch to it. It's not like you're bored. It's not like the number one movie in the world has America's top critics raving. It's still, top critics raving. You still have that. So it's working. Was one little note. One thing I usually say to people, and you kind of did this on your own, and maybe a little too much, is to separate out the title, like Dunkirk. I put it in italics here to separate it out. But sometimes when you're sitting at home listening to this voiceover and it says the name of the movie, it's sort of, you don't quite hear it because it's a name you've never heard before. Like, what's a good example? Silver Linings Playbook. Rolling Stone calls Silver Linings Playbook the movie event of the year. Now, if you're at home, you have no idea what I just said. Silver Linings, so you want to make sure you don't want to overdo it, though. So you don't, like, I think what you did was Rolling Stone calls Dunkirk the movie event. I think you made a little too much out of Dunkirk. But you also don't want to do the opposite, which is Rolling Stone calls Dunkirk the movie event of the year. Now I have no idea what movie you just said. So, again, it's a small point. So try one thing. I like that, but see, I'm just wanting to experiment. See if you were like, imagine like what I was saying earlier about being closer to the mic, so you can be dramatic, but in this kind of a quieter voice. Just see what comes out when you do that. The number one movie in the world has America's top critics raving. It's not quite like a golf announcer who's like whispering, talking like, but it's less projection than you did, just a little bit.
Okay, take two. The number one movie in the world has America's top critics raving. Rolling Stone calls Dunkirk the movie event of the year. The New York Times declares it sweeping and intimate, and Time hails it as a supreme achievement. Dunkirk, rated PG-13. Experience it in IMAX now.
Yeah, that was good. It wasn't that different, but it was subtly different. It was a little sort of closer to mic, whatever we want to call that. Slightly, not breathier, but less projection. So I tend to like that. I think it's always worth trying that read on, listening back to yourself and go, oh, that actually works, like in a horror film or something else, this kind of a thing, going like this, kind of quieter, like a closer to the mic. I'm leaning to my phone. I don't know what that does to my voice, but instead of...
It does. It's effective.
And sticking my fist up in front of my mouth, which doesn't really help anybody.
I would gladly pay Richard $10 to work with him.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more than that, but yes.
It's usually free. But yes, so if I'm closer to the mic, now I'm leaning towards the phone. I don't know if this makes a difference. The number one movie in the world has America's top critics raving, as opposed to the number one movie in the world has America's top critics raving. So I like that closer one better, personally. It works for these things. We don't always want to do that, but I think it's worth trying and listening back to, is my point. It's okay. Why don't we just leave it at that?
Richard, cool. Thank you so much for the feedback, and thank you guys all for having me. Richard, thank you for being here. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, glad to.
Stephen.
We have David the Galpin.
Mm-hmm.
The Galpin Gourmet.
Hello.
There he is.
Hey, David.
Howdy. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Emma.
You're so welcome.
What you reading?
Thank you, Richard.
Sure.
What you reading, David?
I am reading Family Guy and Bob's Burgers.
Okay.
David Galpin.
Okay,
and I am from Foxborough, Ontario, between Ottawa and Toronto.
Cool.
Today. Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. So let me give you a little direction first.
Yeah.
What you're starting to do there is, I was going to say, you can do anything from big bombastic voice that you put on to kind of casual and flat. There's no real direction here, and they're probably going to hear lots of people doing different things without telling them in advance what it is. So, yeah, it's just like pick your favorite idea and go with it is really the direction. So go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No problem. Today is National Cheeseburger Day, and the only thing better than a burger with cheese is this grade A comedy combo. Celebrate the beefiest day of the year with the hottest and freshest comedies on television. Happy National Cheeseburger Day from Family Guy and Bob's Burgers, coming soon from 20th Television.
So that's totally legit. It works. And again, it's like if they have 10 people read it and they each do 3 takes, they're going to be, inundated with different ideas. Everything from today is National Cheeseburger Day to today is National Cheeseburger Day. And, a lot of character-y voices, some just straight. Today is National Cheeseburger Day. And the only thing better than a burger with, so casual sort of, hey, it's me, your next door neighbor. So unless there is direction on it, so I think anything goes. I don't really have a lot of opinions on it. I usually ask somebody to just do a different take for the second one rather than work on that same one. But a couple of things I will say. Let's stick with that one now that I think about it, because let's perfect it. Let's go with that one. The one thing that's important, like I was saying earlier, is to really look at the script and picture what's going on. I didn't say this, but picture what's going on in the spot if you can. If there's a trailer, or in this case, there's 2 TV shows, you may have seen both of them before. They're not new shows that are just coming out. So you have some sense of them. But if you can picture, like for Celebrate the Beefiest Day of the Year, I bet there's going to be some kind of beef hamburger, kind of joke. Like he opens the storeroom door and tons of beef patties come crashing down on his head and bury him, or something like that. Or a bull gores him in the butt, or I don't know what. But Beefiest, wants to stand out a little bit. And Hottest is probably like, something flames up and his chef's hat catches on fire or something. So that doesn't mean overdo it. You don't want to go, celebrate the beefiest day of the year, but also don't throw it away. Celebrate the beefiest day of the year. So I would kind of go, celebrate the beefiest day of the year with the hottest and freshest comedies on television. And also, the other thing I want to make sure you don't do again is run any lines together. I think you ran hottest and freshest together, but there's going to be a joke or dialogue bite or something between each line of any script. The way it's broken up, it should be that way anyway, unless I typed it wrong. So always leave a break after everything, after every line. Okay, does that all make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so you're going to do one more, kind of like the same voice. I'll leave it up to you. How's that?
Okay. Today is National Cheeseburger Day, and the only thing better than a burger with cheese is this grade A comedy combo. Celebrate the beefiest day of the year with the hottest and freshest comedies on television. Happy National Cheeseburger Day from Family Guy and Bob's Burgers, coming soon from 20th Television.
Okay, I like the delivery, but the stopping and starting thing, I think it should be a no-no, because all it does is, it gives it personality, but it also adds time, which they normally don't have. So something else I might mention, like if you have a line that you want to say, you want to put a pause in or stretch it out or make it take longer, that's fine, but just come right back. Let's say this is take 1. You would read the line and then repeat it again faster. So if you want to, let's say, and freshest, if you want to go, and freshest comedies on television, I would come right back with, and freshest comedies on television. Just, you don't want to get eliminated by, oh, this guy doesn't fit, next, because it's too long, because it's probably pre-cut already. So I don't think that pausing thing is likely to fly, is all I'm saying. Okay. As far as, bringing your own, idea to something, because of the time issue. That's all I'm trying to say. Okay. But yeah, otherwise I thought that sounded good. Why don't you do one more without those pauses, and we'll see how that sounds.
Today is National Cheeseburger Day, and the only thing better than a burger with cheese is this grade A comedy combo. Celebrate the beefiest day of the year with the hottest and freshest comedies on television. Happy National Cheeseburger Day from Family Guy and Bob's Burgers, coming soon from 20th Television.
Good. Watch out, you ran hottest and freshest together again.
Yeah.
So, by the way, when you've done these 4 takes that I talked about doing earlier, before you send it in, even if they're rushing you, they're saying, we need this back right away. Take a few minutes, go away from it, come back, take as much time as they'll allow you to. And if you have till next morning, take hours. But if you only have half an hour, take 10 minutes, whatever. Come back. You'll have a little more objectivity when you listen back to them, and you might notice, oh, that take 3 isn't really working. I don't like the way I said blah, 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 or whatever. And also sort of proofread it. Make sure you didn't say anything wrong. Like even as little as, it's instead of it is. Or is that the way you say, is it beloved or is it beloved? I'm not really sure. Maybe I should record both ways, I said, with the freshest and hottest comedies instead of with the hottest and freshest, because your brain sometimes does that, mixes words up or leaves one out or whatever. So just make sure you're sending it in each with the exact words that's on the script, and you broke everything the way it says to. All right. Why don't we stop there?
Yeah, we're going to move on to Randy. David, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Richard.
David.
And Randy is up. Hi, Randy.
Hi there. Thanks, guys. Thanks for picking me.
No problem.
Okay, so the one that I have, well, I've been going eeny, meeny, miny, mo through a few. But Haywire is what I think I'm going to do.
Okay, cool. Great. Haywire, let me get it. Haywire, where are you? There it is. Okay. Just getting a drink. So, this one had a martial arts, sort of well-known female martial arts personality starring in it. So it seems like it'd just be like a regular old action movie, like, Jean-Claude Van Damme kind of thing or something. But on the other hand, it had Steven Soderbergh directing it, who, usually makes sort of more thoughtful, intelligent movies, like Erin Brockovich and Ocean's 11, 12, 13, 8. I don't know, I've actually worked on a lot of his movies, now that I think of it. But, so, hopefully the direction you would have gotten with the script in an email would have told you, flat thriller with some edge or urgency or something like that. Okay. So you kind of have the sense of it. But if we were doing 3 takes, take 3 would probably be the punchier, actiony one. And take 1 would be the slightly more intelligent one. And take 2 would be somewhere in the middle. So let's do the take 1, which is sort of, it still wants to be, it's a movie about this tough woman, and she's going to go for it, and it's exciting, and they're going to try to kill her, and she's got to find the truth before they kill her. So we want to have all of that, but we don't want to overdo it. We don't want to go, she is our nation's most valuable weapon. We want to be more like, she is our nation's most valuable weapon. Again, the going close to the mic kind of read, I think, would benefit on this one. Thrillers, the same kind of thing. This is actiony, but I think it's still more, it's like a Bourne Identity movie, Jason Bourne movie, where he's on the run from his own agency because somebody bad betrayed him or something like that. That's what's happening here. Okay. Enough talking. You do it.
Okay, thanks. Randy Dan. She is our nation's most valuable weapon. That's why She is our nation's most valuable weapon. That's why they trained her. That's why they trusted her. So why did they betray her? This January, finding the truth. That'll be our most dangerous mission. Haywire.
Yeah. By the way, you added an extra word, so you.
I know I did. I'm sorry.
You made my point. That's my point. Some people just do that all. Your brain just does that, and then you'll catch it when you come back. If you don't catch it right away, you'll catch it when you go away for a few minutes or 3 hours and listen back and go, oops, because your finger's running along the script. And go, I got to cut that out. Okay. I think it can be sort of more dramatic and hushed tone kind of thing, but it would still with some urgency. So I'll give you my version. You're not going to sound just like me, obviously, doing it, but this is just sort of to help give you a sense of it.
Okay.
She is our nation's most valuable weapon. That's why they trained her. That's why they trusted her. So why did they betray her? So it's like trained. They trained her. I would actually, if somebody gave me the script, the writer, I would have edited that down too. They trained her. They trusted her. They betrayed her. That would be the entire script. But so be it. So, but you keep going. That's why they trained her. That's why they trusted her. So why did they betray her? So that kind of a voice.
Okay.
A little more like that. Okay.
Okay. Randy Dan. She is our nation's most valuable weapon. That's why they trained her. That's why they trusted her. So why did they betray her? This January, finding the truth will be her most dangerous mission. Haywire.
Yeah, I thought that was much better. I don't know if you kind of like that yourself. I mean, you have to listen back to it probably to know, but.
Yes, and I think when I'm not shivering and really nervous, I sounded better.
Good. Yeah. Yeah, that's something I should always start with. My direction. Okay, relax. Don't be nervous. But stop shivering. One note before I forget it. What was it? You kind of had an upward inflection on a couple of places that I would have changed. We'll do one last one.
Okay.
I think it was on why, and it was on truth. That was it. You went, so why did they betray her? I would keep it flat. So why did they betray her? Same with the finding the truth. Finding the truth, as opposed to finding the truth. So this is a generalization. Generally, I would say put a period at the end of every line, even if it's the middle of a sentence, like finding the truth will be her. Finding the truth, as opposed to finding the truth will be her most. Finding the truth, period, will be her most dangerous mission, period. That's all. But otherwise, I like that read. Let's do one more.
Okay, thank you. She is our nation's most valuable weapon. That's why they trained her. That's why they trusted her. So why did they betray her? This January, finding the truth will be her most dangerous mission. Haywire.
Almost, but you still went finding the truth as opposed to finding the truth, period.
Finding the truth. Finding the truth.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, finding the truth. Yeah, that's all. And then I think putting a little break after why, the third why, so why. Not a big pause, but just instead of, so why did they betray her? I just think it sounds more dramatic if you go, so why did they betray her?
So why did they betray her?
Yeah, but I wouldn't put so much question in it. So why did they betray her?
So why did they betray her?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
There you go.
Thank you.
All right, great.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Randy.
Thanks, Randy.
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. And Juan, come on up. You're already on the stage, so just, unmute yourself. There you go.
Hello,
Hi.
everyone.
Hello.
Juan Lopez, based here in Miami, Florida. Definitely very much an amateur here in Miami, Florida.
You're also you're a little bit on the lower volume side. I'm not sure if you can figure that out. Make it louder.
A little bit on the lower volume side. Oh no.
Yeah, it's hard. It's harder to hear you. I think maybe just a connection or something.
Oh no.
I can hear you, but you're lower than everybody else has been.
Juan, can you get in closer to your mic or to your device?
How about that? Is that any better?
Well, I can hear you fine.
We'll take it.
Yeah, we'll take it. Okay. Let's
go. Oh, geez. Well, I'm sorry about that.
No
we'll have to look into that later and see exactly what is the issue there.
Yep. So what are you going to read?
The script I chose is Dunkirk as well, actually.
All right. Back to Dunkirk. It was a good movie. All right. So you already heard directions. So I'll let you just do it.
Okay.
But I would. I seem to be saying this a lot today, but that sort of leaning in a little bit and being, flat with that sort of more intimate read rather than a big projecting read, I think is going to work better, especially with this client.
Okay. The #1 movie in the world has America's top critics raving. Rolling Stone calls Dunkirk the movie event of the year. The New York Times declares it's sweeping and intimate, and Time hails it as a supreme achievement. Dunkirk, rated PG-13. Experience it in IMAX now.
Okay. The overall, the timbre and everything of your voice was good, but I felt like it was too, what's a good word for this? I don't know what. I wanted to be kind of edgier and less it almost sounded like an educational movie. I just can't come up with the right word. So I wanted to be a little more like it's like thrilling. Like they're going to live, or the Germans going to drop bombs and kill them all, or they're going to escape. And it's a little bit of that. And I feel like you're going. Rolling Stone calls Dunkirk the movie event of the year. I'm not getting it right, but and I think it should be less inflected, more flatter inflection. Rolling Stone calls Dunkirk the movie event of the year. A little more put on theatrical, more this kind of trailer guy voice.
Okay. The #1 movie in the world has America's top critics raving. Rolling Stone calls Dunkirk the movie event of the year. The New York Times declares it's sweeping and intimate, and Time hails it as a supreme achievement. Dunkirk, rated PG-13. Experience it in IMAX now.
Okay, still, I don't feel like that really improved what I was asking for, which was getting rid of some of that up and down inflection.
Okay.
It's sweeping and intimate. It's like, keep it like flat. It's sweeping
and intimate.
Sweeping and intimate. I wouldn't even go sweeping. You're putting too much emphasis on syllables.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's like you're going sweeping and intimate. It's like sweeping and intimate. I'm very flat. I don't really care much about anything. I don't have much feeling about anything, emotion. I'm just got this flat sort of guy that doesn't ever get too excited. The #1 movie in the world has America's top critics raving. Even if you overdo it, if you go too far in the flat, let's just try one last one. Let me just read the first couple of lines.
Okay. The #1 movie in the world has America's top critics raving. Rolling Stone calls Dunkirk the movie event of the year. The New York Times declares it's sweeping and intimate, and Time hails it as a supreme achievement. Dunkirk, rated PG-13. Experience it in IMAX now.
Yes, I think that improved it a lot. I think you're getting there. There was still a couple of telltale words where you went sweeping and intimate or something, but
I'm still getting that one. Yeah. I'm sorry about that.
But it's the kind of thing that if once you knew what you were trying to do like that, you could, even on your own, you could record it and then listen back and go, oh yeah, I still hit sweeping, or I did this on Supreme or whatever. But at least you got the idea of what it should be, and I think you got it for most of it. There was just a couple of places where you still went up a little too much.
Okay, well, that's very good to know. Thank you so much for that direction. I'll be mindful of that in the future.
Definitely. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Juan.
Appreciate it.
Hello. Okay, we were going to try to squeeze one last person up, but they're not responding. So we are full. We're full. And we've got like 6 minutes left anyway. So
there's Jody.
There she is. There she is.
Jody.
Okay, so Jody, if you're going to unmute, we've been through this before, so it might just take her a second to do this. There she is. There she is.
Did I do it?
You did it.
Woohoo!
You did it.
You did it good.
Hi. Thanks, you guys. Thanks so much for this.
No problem.
Nice to meet you. I'm Jody Friesen, and I'm currently in Toronto, but I was born in Comox, BC.
Oh, yeah.
So
I remember the name Comox. I don't remember the town exactly.
I don't remember it either.
Somewhere outside of
So I am going to read Dumbo.
Okay.
Oh, fun.
Good.
So
Speaking of what I said earlier about, oh no, it's not in here. Never mind. I thought it had the word beloved in it, or beloved. So, well, on that note, if you see the word beloved in the script, or beloved, just do it both ways, because who knows which way they want it.
Okay.
The most beloved movie, or the most beloved movie. Same thing with you're not sure how to pronounce something. Just do it both ways. Do it twice. Don't get eliminated because you did it the wrong way only. Nobody's going to mind that you said beloved and beloved, or whatever. I'm not sure whatever else there is like that. Okay.
When you've been saying to do one line like 3 times or 6 times, that's what you're sending in is the whole thing.
Yes, you're sending in 4 takes. The first 3 are the entire script from top to bottom.
Okay.
Take 1, take 2, take 3, and with different tones. Take 1, take 2, more comedic, take 3, flatter, whatever. And then take 4 is an A, B, C of each line. So then now you've done 3 takes, and now your 4th take is going to give you 3 more lines of each, 3 more choices for each line.
Okay.
That's where the 6 comes in. You've got 6 total. But if you're in take 1, let's say, and you have the word beloved and not sure, the most beloved movie of our generation, the most beloved movie of our generation, just do it twice. If you're not sure what the word is it J.K. Rowling or Rowling? I'm not sure, so do it both ways.
Okay.
That's all. Okay, so Dumbo. I remember seeing the trailer for this, and after having worked on the script in a workshop or two, and realizing it was really kind of sad. But let's maybe not go there. But it was like not happy, fun kind of sell. It was kind of like, oh, wasn't that sad? But I think we want to keep it kind of heartfelt. Mm-hmm. And who are we talking to here? That's a question you want to ask yourself when you get the script. It's a kids movie, but you're not talking to kids because you remember the moment you fell in love with Dumbo. It's a whole new generation. So I think we're talking to parents here. Hey, parents, bring your kids to the movie you loved as a child. Now you can share with your own children. So that seems to be the message. So you don't want to sound kid-like. You just want to sound heartfelt and like it's. It could be like not that different from a drama. That's not a Dumbo movie. But anyway, let's try it. Just keep sort of like Everyone remembers the moment they fell in love with Dumbo. A Disney legend returns for a whole new generation. It's just like slightly reverential or something. I don't know what the word is, but you got the idea.
Okay. Should I slate before each thing?
Normally you would. You wouldn't have to. You wouldn't.
But I don't have to do
it now. Not for this. Okay.
Okay. Everyone remembers the moment they fell in love with Dumbo. On March 29th, a Disney legend returns for a whole new generation. Dumbo, rated PG, March 29th.
Okay. Here's my notes on that.
Okay.
I would go up a little in performance and emotion. Okay. You don't want to get too sappy with it, but I feel like you're being a little too casual.
Okay.
Almost like you're narrating it, like here's what's happening. So it's like, everyone remembers the moment they fell in love with Dumbo. Something like that. Just like, oh, isn't that nice? Kind of feeling. Mm-hmm. And then don't run put a period in every line. Don't run anything together for sure. Okay. Like a Disney legend returns. Then there's going to be 3 seconds of dialogue for a whole new generation. And another thing of dialogue. Dumbo. Okay.
Okay. Everyone remembers the moment they fell in love with Dumbo. On March 29th, a Disney legend returns for a whole new generation. Dumbo, rated PG, March 29th.
Good. Watch out on the title should be a little more, a little bigger. Dumbo, okay, as opposed to Dumbo. But the rest of it wants to be like that, rated PG. But you also want it kind of quick. This is for everybody. If your whole script might just be Dumbo, rated PG, March 29th. Sometimes that's the entire script. So you want to be good at it. And the tags want to be kind of flat, not out of keeping with the tone of the script. It doesn't want to be Dumbo, rated PG, March 29th. But it also doesn't want to be Dumbo, rated PG, March. So it wants to be just sort of informational after the title. Dumbo, rated PG, March 29th, and find it kind of close together because there's not a lot of time for that stuff. So you don't want to go rated PG, March 29th, rated PG, March 29th. Just kind of like that. It's good for everybody to practice. All right, so let's just do one more quickly and just give it even more love. Everyone remembers the moment. Oh, you're never going to forget this. It's so wonderful.
Okay. Everyone remembers the moment they fell in love with Dumbo. On March 29th, a Disney legend returns for a whole new generation. Dumbo, rated PG, March 29th.
Good. I like that. If this was for real, you'd want to make sure you had rated PG, March 29th. It's okay for now, but Dumbo, rated PG, March 29th. Just you want to have at least one take that's, pretty quick and stuck together, not run together. You want to be able to cut between each line, but you don't want to go PG, March. Rated PG, period. Rated PG, March 29th. Like that. Anyway, that's not the important thing. Let's just do one last thing. Pick up the Everyone Remembers the Moment and just give it. The rest of it felt like it took you a second to get into that heartfelt thing. So
Okay.
I want the first line, maybe put a little more inflection on everyone or something, because you're going, everyone remembers the moment. Everyone remembers the moment. Everyone, moment. Just give it some inflected, feeling.
Okay. Everyone remembers the moment they fell in love with Dumbo.
That's a little too much on the Dumbo part.
Okay.
They fell in love with Dumbo. You're going, they fell in love with, don't overdo it. So let's just pick up the opening two lines one more last time.
Okay. Everyone remembers the moment they fell in love with Dumbo.
Yeah, that's getting better. There, that's good. Okay. I would just one last one. Everyone, give me a little, everyone remembers the moment.
Everyone remembers the moment they fell in love with Dumbo.
Yeah, that's getting there.
Okay.
We'd keep working on it if we had time, but we don't. So we'll stop there. But yes, you're definitely getting the idea there. I think that really improved from the first take.
Thank you so much, Richard.
Oh,
and
certainly.
Mike and Emma, this is just great. Thanks again.
Absolutely.
Thank
and
you,
Jessica,
Jody.
I know that you really want to do a third read. I'm going to ask you, and I'm going to ask Richard if it would be cool if you recorded that and sent it to him, because we just don't have the time right now. So if that would be
Jessica,
okay.
that's fine. I'm actually pretty easygoing about stuff like
He totally is.
For advice and say, hey, here's a demo I just did for my promo thing. What do you think? And I'll listen and give, I'm pretty good with free advice. So yeah. You already have my richardredfield@gmail.com, right? Okay, so you know how to get a hold of me.
And I can confirm that because he has done that many a time for me. So,
Yeah.
and it just blows my mind that you do that. So thank you very much, Richard. It's something that is very unique about you in this industry. So thank you.
Very generous. We really appreciate, and we appreciate you being here with our audience and doing these reads and sharing your feedback, because it's not just the people that read that glean stuff. I'm watching the chat and everybody is like, yeah, we get so much from this stuff. So thank you so
Great.
much.
I'm glad to hear that. I forgot there were other people listening in. Hello, everybody.
Absolutely. Lots of people.
Yeah.
And people will catch it on the replay too, so it's all good.
Oh, good. Yeah. Great. Well, I enjoyed it. I have enjoyed it. And I probably will keep doing it, because I just find when I get a little feedback, somebody says this is helpful, it makes me feel good. I'm not curing diseases or anything, but at least I feel like I'm helping people.
You are helping people.
So there you go.
Absolutely.
Very much so. Again, thank you so much for being here. The Voiceover Round Table is all about community. It's all about paying it forward and giving back, because we've all been helped at some point in our career. And this is why Mike and I do this every week. And we're so grateful for all of the guests that agree to come on board and do this. Everything that we do is on a voluntary basis. No one is being paid. No one is getting any kickback from any of this. This is all on a volunteer basis. So I'm so very grateful to everyone who puts the time and effort into making these shows what they are, which are pretty freaking epic. And next week, if I do say so myself, next week we have the one, the only, the fabulous Celia Siegel of Celia Siegel Management. She is my fantastic manager. She is just
chop lollipop.
An amazing, amazing human. I cannot wait to have her on board. She's so excited to be here too, which is really fun, which will be really, really cool.
I just met her. She came
at VO Atlanta.
At VO Atlanta. So tell her I said hello.
I will.
Absolutely.
I told her about you. She was like, "Oh my God, he does free what? That's amazing."
And for our listeners maybe who aren't familiar with Celia, Celia is really big with the branding stuff.
Yes, branding and marketing.
I think she probably has. We're not going to plug it anyways, because there are those voiceover books, and I think this is one of those ones that you got to have on your shelf for your VO stuff is Celia's book. So go look it up, Google it. I'm not going to say any more than that, but we got Celia coming next week. So we'll talk branding, we'll talk marketing, we'll talk...
Well, if you want to see an example of branding and marketing, look at my website and my new brand, because she did mine. So there's that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's it. Thanks again, Richard, for being with us tonight. And we invite everyone, join us every Tuesday evening, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 Pacific, here on Clubhouse for the Voiceover Round Table. This is Mike and Emma saying, hear you then.